Good evening. Welcome into GarageBand Weekly here on Studio Live today. Your weekly dose of GarageBand and GarageBand adjacent stuff. Someone said to me during the week, I like GarageBand Weekly, but I don't use GarageBand. Is that okay? And I said, that's fine because we talk about things related to Apple products, related to home recording in general, related to the latest music news, what Spotify done lately. And today we're actually covering something that's a little different, which is how to actually sell your music. So whether you make it on GarageBand or Logic Pro or Fruity Loops or any other platform, you can sell your music. And I know what you're thinking. Here's where Pete says use DistroKid to release your music. And I do definitely recommend you release your music with DistroKid. That just makes it really easy for anyone to find it on any platform. But today we're talking about Bandcamp. Because I did nearly a year ago, I did a Bandcamp video and I put one of my albums out on Bandcamp. And ever since then, I've been meaning to get back to it. And Thomas Christ, our wonderful moderator and a fabulous artist in his own right, inspired me because he just released his 19th album on Bandcamp. And it's an absolute cracking tune. And then I looked it up, a cracking album, full of tunes. And then I looked it up and realized that Bandcamp Friday is this Friday, the 7th of March. So I thought, let's whet the appetite. Let's start getting folks excited about Bandcamp. Maybe you've been meaning to get your music out there on Bandcamp for the longest time and you've been intimidated by how difficult it might be. Well, it's not difficult. If I can do it, anyone can. So you can go ahead and set yourself up a Bandcamp artist page. We'll talk about that a little more when we get to the feature topic. But we got some news and notes to talk about first of all. And before we get started, yes, as I say each and every week here on the show, feel free to check out the GarageBand FAQ. If you go to studiolivetoday.com/GarageBand, you'll find a complete resource, a zoomed out resource, a complete resource which has a bunch of different websites to visit. It has a bunch of different YouTube videos and playlists. I recommend this one if you're getting started, the GarageBand 5-Minute Tips series. That's the latest and greatest one. If you click on any of these, they'll take you into that resource. And you can see here, if you're getting started with GarageBand, there's not much that this doesn't cover. And it's super easy to binge because they're all less than 5 minutes. You learn about auto-tune, you learn about all the different effects, all the different instruments, how to use everything in GarageBand. And apparently, a CinemaSins video at the end that has been accidentally added. Let's remove that right now. So you can go and check that one out. You never know. You never know what weird video that Pete's recently watched and has gone onto the wrong playlist there. There you go. Thank you, Jade Star Music. It's good to have Jade Star as a moderator. This is why you have multiple moderators, folks. Thomas Christ, way too humble to put his own link in there. And someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the deal with Bandcamp Friday is that the artist gets to keep a little more of the amount you pay. Because usually I think off the top of my head, it's a 70-30 split. So if you buy a $10 album, the artist is going to get $7. So I think it's something like 8 or 9. I think it just gives them a little bit more. So it's a great way to support artists by buying their gear on the Bandcamp. Yeah, Bandcamp. And that's the cool thing. I mentioned this on yesterday's show, not to get into the feature topic too soon, but DistroKid are super cool because with your DistroKid Hyperfollow page, you can just put your Bandcamp link on there. And the same on slaps.com, you can link to your Bandcamp. DistroKid realize that people don't buy albums on iTunes anymore. They don't buy albums the way that they used to. So they've actually combined things and they've said, yep, you can have this, and everyone's happy because it's a different service. It's not the same. I still think you should do both. And look, yes, I'm sponsored by DistroKid, but I also genuinely think that you should be as many places as you can. And the cool thing is that when people get a warm feeling in there, if someone streams you on Spotify, there's no warm feeling in the cockles because it takes 3 months for you to get paid for that royalty and then you get like half a cent. Whereas if someone genuinely wants to support you as an artist and as a creator, then you can share your stuff on Bandcamp. And if they buy it, you actually get paid reasonably quickly. I've actually had a couple of purchases from kind folks. Yeah, it is cool and it's quick and it's easy. So go and get involved with the old Bandcamp. All right. Let's say good day to the folks who are here live. Hello to Clayton Von Kluge. G'day to Gary Hubbs. John Swanson is here. The wonderful Jade Starr. G'day to Marky Mark and his Funky Bunch bro. Hello to you. I think I saw an Al Davis there. Yes, I did. G'day Al Davis Music. Hello to Tremor Bear. Hello to all of my friends and foes. Are there any foes in the chat? Please let me know if you're a foe. So if you are here and you have questions, just put a big Q in front of, not a Z, don't put an Ed Z in front of the question. But if you put a Q in front of the question, I will be able to see it. I'll flag it, I'll mark it, and I'll come back and try and answer those questions. G'day to Sean Chandler too. Thank you. Thank you to Sean Chandler. Thank you to a lot of folks who put some very nice comments on my birthday and 3 month. Got 3 months on the brain. 9 year of Studio Live Today videos I did recently. So really do appreciate the kindness. Here's a post. Thomas Christ says, I just saw a Reddit post earlier saying it might not be a great idea to release new music on Bandcamp Friday. Too many people releasing stuff and it may get lost in the noise. Something to consider. Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes, you want to. It's like at the moment. I noticed that my friend Samantha Edge is out busking again, and she's busking in the middle of the Adelaide Fringe, which is probably good because there's lots of people around. But you know what there also is? A whole bunch of street performers and buskers out there. So I would imagine that even though it's more lucrative in terms of the volume of people, the level of competition, because everyone's trying to compete with everyone else's releases, is going to be bigger on Bandcamp Friday. So a very valid and good point to consider. Yes, you absolutely can. So you can release on Bandcamp as well as DistroKid. DistroKid has no exclusivity whatsoever. So if you're releasing through DistroKid, it puts you onto to Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Tidal, Deezer. But things like SoundCloud and things like Bandcamp are completely separate. Because DistroKid don't support them, they let you go ahead and do that. And this is why... Honestly, this is why I say that being independent is so important. Because if you signed a record deal, you may not have that same. In fact, I know that there are some record deals that say you definitely 100% cannot independently sell outside of the record company's clutches, because they want any revenue, any sales, anything, they want it to go through their platforms and their selling platforms. So do be careful of that. Look, record deals, 2025 people, I don't think... unless you're at like an Avril Lavigne level. Why did I choose Avril Lavigne? Everyone always chooses Taylor Swift. I'm going old school. Unless you're at a Shirley Manson from Garbage level of fame, I don't think a record deal is going to be right for you as an independent creator, because what you give up in terms of your own rights is usually much bigger than what you actually gain from it. In most cases, case by case basis. But again, at least get someone with a legal background to read over your record deal, because unless you speak legalese, which I don't, then you can get yourself in a little bit of hot water. Jeremy Deshaw are literally releasing music today, like right now. Exciting day. Excellent. Through DistroKid, Jeremy, Bandcamp, let us know. Do let us know here in the chat. I'll go and try and find it once it's available. Hello, Michael, aka Zland Band. Hello to Eric B, who's here as well. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, it's good to see you, everyone. This is kind of my favorite show of the week, because we kind of just get together and have a bit of a yarn, have a bit of a chat about what's going on in the world. You can help me out by hitting the thumbs up button. You don't have to, but you're welcome to. So if you would like to show some support for absolutely free, $0, 0 Great British Pounds, 0 Canadian loonies, you can go ahead and hit the thumbs up button below. And I know every YouTuber in the world asks you to hit the thumbs up and join them on Patreon and join them, blah, 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 blah. But we have to do it because the robots don't like us if we don't. And I, for one, respect our robot overlords. Thank you. Someone just pressed the thumbs up button. I appreciate you. Whoever you are, you're awesome, and you know you're awesome. Let's jump into the news and notes. Hey, enough chatter. We got new Apple products apparently coming. Because of course we do. The good thing is, like, Steve Jobs is probably not happy with the number of different models of every different thing that we have now, but it does mean us as consumers get a constant stream/fire hose of new Apple products, and I've linked to a Mac Rumors article. I do find, even though I'm not a big Rumors fan, ironically, one of my favorite websites for Mac related stuff is Mac Rumors because it's just simple and to the point. Does it have the annoying, refreshing, continually moving ads in the background? Yeah, it does. Could I use an ad blocker? I could, but then I'm not supporting the people that do the thing. I just wish that they would use static ads or something that's a little less distracting. Anyway, what do we got coming up here? Well, apparently, the word on the street is that MacBook Air is getting an update. So you may recall the latest MacBook Air is an M3 chip. The M4 chip is the latest one, and the MacBook Air is apparently going to get an M4 chip. And for someone like me who is very much in the market for a MacBook Air, I think I finally need to take the plunge. I've been weighing up: do I get an older MacBook Pro? Do I get the MacBook Air M3? Do I get an older MacBook Air? Do I even really need the power of M3 or M4 anyway? But if an M4 comes out at a reasonable price with good specs, with at least 16 gig of RAM, and has all the AI availability stuff, because that's what's important these days, then I'll definitely consider it. So I can be your guinea pig for the new MacBook Air, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, assuming that the news is correct. And the other news for iPad folks is that there are new iPads apparently coming out. Now, iPad Pro, no, you will not see a new iPad Pro for a while because we've got the iPad Pro with M4. As if you weren't aware, the very first iPad that had the M4 is the very first device from Apple that had an M4 is the iPad Pro. So before any Mac had the M4, it was the iPad Pro. So iPad Pro is not coming, but regular iPads, so the iPad 10 will be likely replaced with the iPad 11. And again, the word on the street is it's not going to be. We're at evolutionary point here now, folks. We've done everything we need to do. We've removed the headphone jack. We've switched Lightning out for USB-C. They've all got the nice displays. I mean, they're not all OLED if you're getting the regular iPad, but they've all got pretty nice displays. They're really just swapping out the chips now. It really is just every year they're going to grab last year's chip, chuck it in the bin, and grab the latest chip and throw that in the device. So the new iPad Air is expected to be either the M3 or the M4. I reckon it'll be the M4. The M3, the older chip, uses the older process, which is, I should know this stuff by now, 4 nanometer process. The M4 uses the 3 nanometer process. Basically, it's that they're now fabricating chips in this new process. They're unlikely, unless they've got a bunch hanging around, to use the older M3 chip. So I'm imagining we'll get an iPad Air with the M4 chip. And if you don't know, the iPad Air is just a slightly cut down version of the iPad Pro. It's actually the sweet spot in terms of price and performance and everything else. iPad Air is pretty much the sweet spot. iPad 11 is rumored to have an A16 Bionic or the A17 Pro chip. So if you're not aware, the A series chips are the mobile chip that they used to use in all the iPhones and the iPads. They now tend to use the M series chips in Pro and the Air iPads, but they're still using the A series chips in the regular, the vanilla iPads. So that's just something to keep in mind, that if you are in the market, if you're in the market for a new iPad or a new MacBook, it might be worth just waiting. I'll normally say to you, don't wait forever. Like, there's going to be new stuff coming out all the time. You do have to, at some point, make a decision and go, okay, I need this device. I need to be able to do things, so I'm going to buy a device now and actually use it. But if it's not urgent and you're on the fence, you can actually go and do that. Yeah, we've had a small quality of life thing. Apparently, I've got a note from my, how we've had a few little quality issues in the last week, and I've been like, oh no, not another ISP problem. But yes, they've let me know that they're coming to do some repairs on Friday, so we'll have to just grin and bear it until Friday when they actually fix that up. So I will jump. I've jumped off of the Wi-Fi and onto the wired network here to try and avoid that. So we'll carry on. We'll keep doing the best we can do here while we go through. But yeah, it had auto lowered. Ecamm has auto lowered my quality, so hopefully the freezing and the glitching will be at a minimum. What else do we have here? Nearly 2 weeks, and it's working fine. So if you are a member, you would have seen the member stream that I did from my phone, where we spent a lot of time looking at little bars and little Apple logos sitting there. And eventually it did update. Uh, but everything is fine. So I've checked, and GarageBand, Logic Pro seem fine. All my plugins survived. So not that I use GarageBand on Mac and Logic Pro on Mac very much, but everything seemed to be fine. My StreamYard that I use for most of my streaming survived. My Ecamm Live seems to have survived and is doing fine as well. So everything out of the, and even things like webcam settings, which is important for me to use, is working fine. And most importantly, my PlayStation Network virtual remote play is working. So I can continue to play NHL 25 on my Mac, which is, as you know, the most important of all the things. But again, is there anything in macOS Sequoia that's really going to like blow your skirt up in a big bad way? Not particularly. The one thing that I've started playing around with that I'm definitely very disappointed with is the mirroring, the iPhone mirroring. I was looking forward to this. This was going to be the killer feature. Oh, see, now I've turned the Wi-Fi. So I'll just show you this now. I'm not going to even bother showing it because it's just no point. Yeah, I've turned the Wi-Fi off because you need Wi-Fi to connect your devices to your Mac. But when I turn Wi-Fi off, I get a better streaming signal. So I'm not going to turn the Wi-Fi back on to show you this. But this is the problem. You cannot resize this window. Like, it is just that size, and it is so clunky to try and use it with a mouse. I thought this would be really awesome. I thought it would give you the opportunity to have both your phone open as well as having it on the screen at the same time. It doesn't. It does go to landscape mode for GarageBand, but GarageBand is virtually unusable with a mouse. It's for all those people that say that, yeah, GarageBand, like the touchscreen interface is no good for GarageBand and for Logic. I beg to differ. Trying to use it with a Mac style mouse with the point and click and the drag and the swipe is completely unusable. So I'm disappointed with this. I thought it would be like Reflector that I used to use, where you could have it on both, and you could use the touch interface, and you could use the separate pointer, and it would no, it's not. It's literally just for people who maybe are using their Mac and their phones on charge in the other room, and they want to be able to bring up a text message. That's literally it. It has no other real bearing on that. Alrighty. Yeah, hopefully, but I don't think so. But we can always hope. We can always hope that they will add functionality. They tend to not listen to me when I say things because I'm the 1%, and I appreciate that I'm the 1%. I'm not the people that they're looking for. Hello, Chris Stew. Hello to you. And we've got a couple of questions there, by the way, from Al and a comment from Chris. We'll get to those in just a jiffy. Yeah, Firefox and YouTube. I use Firefox to play back the YouTube videos. You probably notice in Your Music Live, but yeah, and it causes less glitches than Chrome does for playback. But it also has its foibles. You'll notice things like slaps.com. It just leaves that little rotating disc in the middle the whole time, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. Yes, work in progress using customers as beta or. I was listening to a podcast the other day and they called it a beta test. I'm like, I've heard beta, I've heard beta, I ain't ever heard no better. So yeah, it must be like an English thing where they have the mal. Like we'll go to the mal, we'll have some yogurt and do some beta testing. Wouldn't be a GarageBand Weekly if I didn't offend at least one country's people. Final thing I want to say in the news and notes is: has Bugalugs, the S word, the Apple Assistant, has it improved? Is it getting there? Apple Intelligence, has it improved? Is it getting there? No, not really. So I mentioned last week that the 18.4 beta came out for iOS and iPad OS, and yeah, no, all they really did was remove some of the summarization features. They didn't really add in a whole lot more, and it's getting to the point where it's a bit of a joke because a lot of the other AI models, when you actually talk to them, they do a much better job. Like, I don't really understand where the gap is. I think it's because Apple have gone very much down the personal privacy, which I don't mind. So they've made sure that they're protecting your personal privacy. They've made sure that they're putting these guardrails on things so it doesn't tell you anything. Whereas the like of Grok and all these other ones that are following the Elon model of move fast and break things and destroy people's lives, they're going with that. Nah, let's just make it as good as it can. Burn up 10,000 NVIDIA processors and a forest full of trees just to run the energy of it, and go full bore. So I don't condone that, clearly, but I also think that Apple are a little too far the other way. But I was listening to This Week in Tech, which is a podcast which I listen to most weeks, and Doc Rock, who, funnily enough, is a representative for Ecamm Live, which is the streaming platform I'm using right now. He was talking about the fact that Apple have a habit of being behind until they're not. They spend their time behind, and then they will everyone will be doing their thing, and then Apple will just go vroom, and they'll just deliver something, a bit like tablet computing. A lot of other companies were trying to put tablet computers on the map, and then Apple were not doing anything, and then suddenly they went iPad, and everyone kind of chuckled and laughed at them until they didn't. And it's the same with the phones, like the classic comment from who was it, Microsoft Duty, the Duty that was like developers, he was like, yeah, yeah, no business user's ever going to want to use a smartphone without a keyboard. Yeah, little did they know. And I remember those times. I remember the times where they were saying that, yeah, no, it's not going to be that. And like, there was still, I still worked in the corporate world where you could choose an iPhone or like a BlackBerry Pearl. And a lot of people were getting Blackberries. And I'm like, really? Really? I mean, this was 2007, 2008. Yes, I suppose iPhones were early on, but no, it wasn't even that. It was like 2010. But yeah, a lot of people were still choosing the keyboards. Cassettes are making a comeback too. Yes, which is a thing. And again, on that same podcast I was listening, they were talking about the fact that that cassettes. The reason that kids are now into cassettes is that they're cheap. They're like the bottom rung. And this is the thing. I'm waiting on CDs, right? I'm waiting on CDs because I've got like 400 of them. I'm waiting for them to be the popular cool thing again, and everyone wants CDs because at the moment they're the dirt cheap thing. CDs and DVDs. You go into like a cashies here, cash converters. They're on their last legs. They're virtually not even selling them anymore. But if you can find them, they're 50 cents, a dollar each. And you could literally just fill a cabinet with CDs and DVDs right now and just sit on them and wait. I don't know that they're ever going to be worth a lot because, again, we're talking pieces of plastic compared to actual, physical media. But yeah, cassettes. Who knew? But yeah, apparently the reason cassettes coming back is that children are poor. We're in a cost of living crisis. And students don't have enough money to spend on vinyl because asshole old man collectors that are buying the same album for the third time in deluxe edition vinyl for $48 are driving the prices up. And even the prices of secondhand vinyl are going through the roof because of us old people. Yeah. All right. Might be one of those words I say differently. Data over data. Yeah, data. Yeah. Yeah, and cassettes are the bottom rung. Absolutely, they are. I love the fact that we've got all these things to put vinyl, put warble and hiss back into, and like that tape bias, like fluctuations. Yeah, let's put all that back into music. We spent 20 years trying to get rid of it, dealing with horrible noise floor and horrible warble issues. Let's add all that back in, because why not? Hey. It's just the way things go, isn't it? A whole circle of life, things go all the way around. Let us dive in and answer a couple of questions. We've got from Al Davis Music. Does the FX track affect volume automation on GarageBand OS? I created a track that has automation to fade out at the end, but it didn't work for me. Does the FX track affect the volume automation? It shouldn't. If you're talking in terms of the FX track, using the volume on the FX track, or if you're actually adding some FX with the FX track, um, only if there was active FX happening as you were trying to phase something out at the very end of your project. But no, it shouldn't do. I probably need more info to be able to check it and actually see. But yeah, if you're using volume automation to automate the volume down at the end of the track. The one thing that you may want to do, let me just open up a track and check it out. So we'll dive into whatever this one is. Where's my iPad? There's my iPad. Oh, I chose a track that I didn't have downloaded to this iPad. All right, here we go. So this is one that does actually have an FX track on it, which is handy, so we can see how this is going to work. So this is my song Boom Boom from a while back. Oh, and we have no sound. By the way, if you were wondering, sorry, I'll get back on mic and talk in a sec. I'll just plug this in. If you're wondering why I'm not doing the Mac topic that I was supposed to be doing today, yeah, it's because I realized that I've never actually used GarageBand Mac on my Mac Studio, and I don't have it configured or plugged in where I can actually use both my mixer and my audio interface. So I have to do a little bit of cable switching and rerouting of things. So that will be coming in the future, but not today. I ran out of time to get it set up. All right, this should now be coming through. All right, so if I'm reading Al's question here, he's saying he's trying to fade out at the end, but it's not letting him because of the FX. So the FX track can be used to add effects, as I did to the start of this track, as you can see there. And it can also be used, if we come here into the mixer, can also be used to do volume adjustments. So you can actually turn down or up the entire volume of the track. So let's just do that. Let's just turn the track down a little bit on the FX there, and then come back out to here, and we'll automate down at the end here to see if we can fade some of these out and see if this works. So I've given up the race. So we'll see if we can do it, because this is the last one. So to automate, we tap here on the icon, we tap on automation. We turn on in the top left our little kajigger. Then we tap to add a spot. Oh, we've got to move the playhead so we can tap to add a spot. What am I doing wrong? Oh, turn on. No. This is weird. Maybe you're right. Maybe it can't. What am I missing here? So these ones here, these have the ability to do automation, but why can't I automate up here? You can see what I'm missing here. It's not allowing, oh, it's allowing me to automate. So maybe, can you not automate a track that is a MIDI track? Have I just never, yeah, I can automate that track. Why on earth can't I automate this track? That's really weird. Is this what it's doing for you? Just not letting you put the automation to fade it out, or it's not working? Because I could fade out. So if I fade out this bass, we could do that, right? And then just move that down. So that's all working. And if we just play this. But it doesn't, does it? Huh. Yeah, okay. I think that's new. I think that might be related to the FX, because it literally did it? So it wouldn't let me do it on some tracks, and then the tracks that it did let me do it on, Al, you're somehow finding all of the new faults. I swear these did not exist in previous versions of GarageBand. So if we look at that, that should be dropping the track all the way down, shouldn't it? Also, now it does. What? Except it didn't fade it. It just went straight down. So it's basically, it's almost like a digital volume. It's not actually ramping it down. Weird. Yeah, it's just cutting it straight off. And let's just find out, is this FX related? What if we delete this FX track entirely? Let's just come out of automation and tap it and delete it. If we remove the FX, is that going to fix this and actually make it ramp down properly? No. Weird. All right, that's going to require some more work. I'm just going to close this so I don't save it. By the way, if you ever do something like this and you mess with a GarageBand track project and you don't want to save it because you've messed it up, just close it. It's one of the benefits of GarageBand not auto-saving is that you can close it and it won't save anything that you've done, which means it's the problem most of the time, but it can actually help you. Yeah, that's a weird one. Has anyone come across anything like that before? That's the issue you're having. Yeah. Ah. The only thing I would say, mate, is what you could do, what I would do as a workaround, because I can't see how to fix this, is export your whole project as a WAV file, bring it back into a fresh project, and then ramp down your volume at the end. So what that should do is export it all. So if you just want to fade out the end overall and it's not letting you, if you export the whole thing, bring it back in as a wave, and then just fade out the end of that stereo wave file. That way you don't have to engage FX or use anything on there. It's already going to be baked in. Weird, weird. Does anyone know if the iPad platform AUM will output 4 separate channels? I don't know. We'll definitely do 2 channels. That's a Jade Star question. Maybe Thomas Christ, who's watched a lot of Jade Star doing a lot of AUM stuff and also has used AUM. I don't. I haven't got around. Thomas Christ says, I think it could, but you may want to check out Jade. There you go. See, Thomas Christ got you covered. He's got Jade's video. But yeah, AUM is something that I've never actually utilized before. Based guitarist, I've been trying to learn recording, mixing, and production for the past 5 years and seeing them. Why do I want to try my stuff? Still sounds weird and terrible. Really? Yeah, weird and terrible is a bit sad. Look, there's 100 different questions here to ask, but yeah, check the gear you're using and the software you're using. It's not that hard to get pretty good sounding recordings these days. So are you talking quality of recordings? Are you talking quality of the playing that you're putting in there, in all honesty? There's a lot of different variables there. Start at the beginning. Like I've got a couple of beginner guides to GarageBand and to Logic Pro. So if you search my name, Pete Johns GarageBand Beginner or Pete Johns Logic Pro Beginner, and just go with the basics. The number one thing is to get it right at the source. And that means if you're playing, say, bass guitar, is having an audio interface that has a good quality instrument input. So it doesn't have to be something expensive, something like a Focusrite Scarlett Solo or a M Audio or a Steinberg UR12. And then, just plugging in, setting your levels right, getting the gain set right, and then playing it in. And if you're using something like GarageBand, there's lots of good bass amps and guitar amps that you can play with. You can check out something like ToneBridge, which has some free guitar simulators that you can play around with. So, yeah, enjoy, play around with it, and you will get there. You will get there for sure. Audient RD14 shows up as 4 outputs in AUM, but only 2 actually work. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, that might be a bit more of a specific question for folks that use the Audient. I don't personally currently use Audient. Yeah, that's it. Get your feet wet and try that out. Could be mono 4 versus stereo 2 setting somewhere potentially. Or yeah, as Thomas Christ says, it may be a limitation of iPad audio because I've never tried to use more than 2 outputs. iPad audio supports multiple inputs, so I've used, for instance, my Steinberg UR44, and that has 6 separate inputs, and I've actually recorded in GarageBand 6 separate inputs at a time. I don't recommend it. The overhead that it was using was quite phenomenal, and it was on my old iPad Air 2, so it was like, oh, are you sure you want to do this, Pete? But yeah, I don't believe, unless Logic Pro does, because that has sort of selections for multiple outputs, but I'm not sure if AUM does. So I think it would be a Jade Star question. So hopefully we can get some answers on that in the future. I think I saw some other questions dropping in here. You're freaking out. My lead vocals on my track are bleeding through on my Mac, and I'm trying to get a clean take, but it's bleeding through even though I use headphones. Make sure that it's also not playing through any speakers. I know that sounds obvious, but I've done that before where I've had my headphones on and then realized afterwards that I also had my speakers on and plugged in. So it was still coming out and bleeding through. Check your distance. I've got a whole video on this if you search Pete Johns mic bleed, telling you all the different tips that you can use. Check the distance from your microphone. Check your mic input gain. Quite often it's because your mic input gain is set too high, so it's actually picking up too much noise. and especially if you're using a condenser microphone, that can pick up very delicate, very, very small sounds. So you can use that. Make sure your headphones are closed back headphones. Maybe even try doing the one ear trick. So what you do with that is you get one. You've seen people do this, right? I don't have headphones handy, but the reason they do that is for two reasons. Number one is that it can help you hear your voice and then hear the music just on one side, and for some people it helps with pitch and voice control. But the other thing is, if you've got your mic, say, set like I do here, if I have my right ear, there's much higher chance of bleed coming through there than with my left ear. So what I could do is put the other cup behind my head over there and sing off to the side here and cup this side so that it's kind of making an even more closed environment, closed loop, so it's not bleeding back in through the microphone. The other thing is to consider, mic bleed's not that bad. Like, a lot of people spend hours and hours of time trying to remove mic bleed and then realize that it doesn't actually make that much difference. Because guess what? The bleed that's coming through is the rest of your track. If there's a little bit of the rest of your track in your microphone track, it doesn't matter. Like the Beatles had bleed all over the place. They had to bounce tracks down to other tracks. They used 4-track recorders and had to record 3 tracks and then bounce them down to 1 and then record over the top of them. And by the end of it, they had bleed out the wazoo. But did their stuff sound cool? Yeah. And sometimes a little bleed can actually sound kind of cool. It creates a little bit of room noise, and it kind of gives it that live feeling as well. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Let's see. Quite a skilled guitarist, been using Studio One and Reaper on PC. My setup is simple. Focusrite 2R2, Mackie monitors, good plugins. Stuff just sounds bad. Not sure what it is. It's a hard one. It's a hard one to diagnose. Obviously, just here on a live stream, but you should definitely be able to get good quality stuff these days. The one thing I will say is that, and I'm not judging anyone based on their age. I'm a 46-year-old dude now, so if you grew up with analog gear, make sure you are not recording too loud. The number one thing I see people doing wrong is turning up the volume too much, because in the analog world, you had to hit the tape hard. And if you've been recording in the past and you've used 4-track recorders, or you've recorded to reel tapes, or you've recorded in studios, you would know that you have to make sure that your gain is almost at peak level. To get good quality recording in the digital world on something like a Scarlett 2i2, you actually need to have your input gain set much lower than you'd think. So you might be playing it in thinking, this doesn't sound right. It sounds wussy. It sounds like it's not hitting. But that's what, again, when I've heard people's recordings, the number one thing that sets a good recording apart from something that sounds a bit harsh or crappy is that the input gain. And I'm not talking about the volume you mix it at. You can turn it up to 11. Once it's recorded in, add all your plugins, add all your simulators, and turn it up to 11. That's cool. But if you record in and you get any sort of distortion, any sort of clipping, any sort of that harsh treble sound coming through, it's usually because the input gain is set too high. And when you really dig in on those notes, it can be a problem. Yeah, it could be a driver issue too. On PC, do make sure that you do have the latest drivers, because it can cause problems. Or what is there's a driver that I used when I used Reaper. It's called ASIO for All, I think. Is that a thing? Am I remembering this correctly? ASIO for All. Universal Windows ASIO driver. Yeah, so I've had success with it because I actually used to use a Scarlett 2i2 on Reaper on a PC, and it might be worth at least exploring and trying this, because it has all of the settings that your regular drivers don't. So we're talking like buffer overflow setters. You can set the number of samples really accurately. It just works, and it basically replaces your regular driver that you get from Focusrite. And it worked for me on one of my PCs that had serious problem. Yeah, see, look at this. You can do latency compensation. You got buffer offset. You can resample between 44.1 and 48. You can force it to be 16-bit. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do that works well. So yeah. See, there you go. Thomas Christ used it for years with when he was on a PC. Back in the day. A question from Leogardo. I've experienced some choppy moments in certain parts of my songs. Only happens when I use Bluetooth. Is it a mix issue? Yes. Yes, so only certain choppy songs only happens if when I use Bluetooth. So when you're saying when I use Bluetooth, are you using Bluetooth as in to play in, like are you using a Bluetooth microphone or Bluetooth MIDI or Bluetooth guitar adapter, or are you listening back on Bluetooth? Either way, yes. So if you're recording it on Bluetooth, it has a couple of problems. It has a little bit of latency or delay, so sometimes your recording won't be right on the beat, and that can be a problem. And it can also have cutting in and out problems. If you've ever been on a Bluetooth phone call, you'll know what I mean about cutting in and out. It's not just a problem with the cellular service on a phone call. Sometimes it's that your Bluetooth won't be connected. I have that problem. If my phone's in my pocket, there's something about my body that does my Bluetooth doesn't love it, especially if I got a Bluetooth in my left ear and my phone in my right pocket. It's almost unusable. So there's a couple of things to consider around that. But yeah, it kind of depends what you're using the Bluetooth, because yeah, as Clayton Von Clue says, it says Bluetooth is latency from Hades. Exactly. Yes, Chris, sorry, I did have your question tagged. Let's circle back to Chris's question. This may be GarageBand Q&A with a little tiny dash of Bandcamp at the end, just quietly, but I'm going to return and do some more Bandcamp stuff at the end of the week, like on Friday. So just a spoiler alert, there'll be another video coming at the end of the week talking about Bandcamp Friday and what it's all about. So if you don't get a lot of band camping in today, we will do that then. The song section featuring GarageBand, keep my organized. Is GarageBand the only door with the plus and add section feature? So important for my workflow. Yeah, so this is when I did my GarageBand versus Logic Pro comparison. This is the one thing that I said about my workflow and my structure. So if you're not familiar with what we're talking about here, we are talking about the song sections in GarageBand. And if you don't use these, that's cool, but they can be super duper handy. So this track I didn't use it, which is right. But to add a song section, you tap the plus button here, and you can see this one only has one section, right? It has one 89 bar section. But what we could do is you can actually add song sections, and you can do it in like 8 bar or 16 bar or 14 bar chunks. And then you can do things like move your song sections around. You can come in here and edit, and so you can like grab these sections and you can move them around and like rearrange your project. So this is handy for like you want to put some gap at the start, like I did there. You can grab a section and do that. It just makes it easy to organize. And then when you're working on one particular section, you can actually just tap it here and it completely highlights that one section, and you can work on that and come back. Am I showing you the absolute wrong screen? I absolutely am. So let's do all that again. Hit the plus button up here. You've got your different song sections. You can set how many bars they are. You can duplicate them. Oh, I'm having an absolute cracker today, aren't I? You can change the number of bars here. You can change your arrangement. You can do all the things. So there is a lot of great options there with song sections. Now, Logic Pro doesn't have this. So even if you bring a GarageBand project over into Logic Pro, it won't keep the song sections, which is a pain in the booty. Logic Pro has its own things that you can use which are similar, which it has up the top here. So it has markers, so you can use markers and sections and things up the top in your what is it called? The track header. So you can actually come in here and change the things. Where is that called? Markers. So yeah, so you can see there you can put like intro and verse and chorus and blah 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 blah. So you can actually use your markers here, but it won't copy those across from your song sections. Now, things like Cubasis, from memory, I haven't used Cubasis in a hot minute. I don't think Cubasis has any sectioning either. We'll just open my 1.21 song. It does have markers, I think. Man, I do not know my way around this anymore. It's been a long, long time since I've used Cubasis. But basically, the song sections thing is a bit of for iOS at least, is a bit of a GarageBand exclusive. So what a lot of folks do though is that they'll do their recording, their arranging, and get it right down to the point of mixing here in GarageBand, and then they'll send it across to Logic Pro at the point where it doesn't really matter anymore, at the point where you've kind of done all of your arranging and you won't need to move things around too much anymore. Then they move that whole mix over to Logic Pro, and that can work well because it'll send all your tracks, MIDI tracks, it'll send your drummer track, anything you've got there, it'll send those over to Logic Pro. But it is disappointing because Logic Pro is amazing. It has things like the keyboard player and the session players, and it has the mastering options, and it has obviously much better control over your tracks. It has the master fader. Like, Logic Pro has a lot of things going for it. I just wish they had built in backwards compatibility for the song sections. Yeah. Core Gadget 3 with patterns. Yeah, that's the thing. You can go to something like Core Gadget 3 or something like Ableton Live if you're looking for something like that. Do you have examples of some heavy rock or metal guitar-based recordings you could show and tell about? Yeah, and yes, I was very much on the wrong screen. Let me go in, and I'll show. Mate, we'll probably need to do something because it'd be easier if I'm actually showing the recording process as well. But I'll find a track here that has something. So if I go to the song we were just looking at in Logic Pro, bum, 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 which has some what I think is pretty good sounding guitars on it. And these were using just the guitar amp sims in Logic Pro. So, and in fact, you can go back to my Songtember 2024, where I recorded this song. In fact, let's find you a video so I can give you some homework to do after the show. So if we go Pete Johns Songtember guitars, we'll see if I can find me. That was Songtember 2020. Here it is, recording guitars for 2025. This is, yep, here we go. So this one is where I was recording the guitars. Let's just make sure it's actually a live recording session. Yep, there I am. Roll bar here. It is under this one in our... Oh, that's a bit where I'm actually playing. Yeah, so I'll throw a link to this one here. We'll just copy that. I'll throw a link to this one here over in the chat. Bump. And you can go and check that one out after the show. That's that one there. But just to give you a bit of an idea, yeah, so these are the guitars that I recorded in that actual session. And again, just using Logic Pro, but you could use GarageBand, or you could use the same sort of thing. I know this is all on mobile, but it's the same concept. I talk about input gain, I talk about selecting. So if you just use this with Reaper and just use some of the standard Reaper amp sims, it'd be the same sort of thing if you're getting the same sort of signal in. But like, here was the rhythm guitar that we recorded, which is not playing because of course it's not, because we have to come in here. Oh no, it's set to play it. Oh, it's doing this. I've got a video coming out about this. Has anyone had this problem lately? It's a known bug, but it happens quite a lot here in Logic Pro for iPad, and it's this issue where if you've got everything set here and look, it all should be playing, but only one track plays, and if you solo another one, nothing plays. And you know what the solution is? It's like turn it off and on. It's close it and reopen it. That's all you gotta do, is just close it and reopen it, and it fixes it immediately. Yeah. All right. Let's give this a spin now. So here's the guitars that I did. With this one, I wanted a real wall of guitar kind of rock sound. So I have my rhythm guitar doing this. Which I think sounds pretty sweet. And then I brought in some lead guitars. So let's just listen to the lead guitar here. So a little nice bit of a delay on the lead. And again, these were just using the stock amps, the amp designer here in Logic Pro. So you could do this. I know Reaper has some amps, or if you're using something like a Tone Bridge or what do they have? Amplitude, anything like that will do the job. And then I wanted the wall of guitars. So on the right side, I had And for this particular track, I didn't record the bass. Well, I did originally, but my bass was shit. So Mars Capone, the awesome Mars Capone, one of our community members here, recorded what is probably the best bass I've ever had on any song, and it sounded like this. And he gave me the clean and the filthy. Which is probably another tip there, is to blend a couple of different tracks. If you want a nice distorted guitar sound, sometimes your distorted tones lose some of the actual attack of the clean sound. So sometimes recording your parts twice and then adding the distortion to one and leaving a little bit of cleanliness in there as well can actually really help too. I have some outboard gear since guitars, preamps collected. iPad is new to me, but it's pretty cool. And that's what I love about it. I was the same. I got a drawer down the bottom there with the Boss DS1 and the Jimi Hendrix wah and the controller thing with the and I don't use it anymore because you get tones like that just from plugging into your iPad and doing it. So yeah. Use the amps in from Neural DSP. Yeah, so you got plenty of options in terms of that. So maybe just watch that guitar recording video just to see some of the techniques I use around setting your input gain and recording in your tones and dialing in tones. So I'm not an expert, just so you know. I'm far from an expert in terms of guitar recording, but I think I get decent sounds. I've never been unhappy with the guitar sounds that I get. Do we just make this Q&A entirely? Do we get to the topic? I do love the Q&A stuff, and I'm going to try and help out as much as I can. While mixing, I can hear choppy sounds coming up, but it doesn't appear. That's the reason I started using Bluetooth mixing. But if it's cable or other devices like that, use cables. While mixing, I can hear the choppy sounds coming up, but it doesn't appear. Oh, you can hear it coming up, but it doesn't appear. Huh. Well, that's weird. So it's sort of built into what you've recorded, but it's not showing in like the waveform, but you know it's going to come up choppy. Yeah, really, it's hard to diagnose. Yeah, apart from what you're sort of saying there. The other thing you can do is export it and like maybe send it to your phone and just listen on your phone speaker and seeing if you get the same choppiness. Because if it's like baked into your recording, then it's probably more something to do with the cables that you're using to actually record it in, as opposed to what you're listening back on, I would say. Alrighty. Yeah, Q&A all day long. And ToneBridge is awesome. If you've never used ToneBridge, it is brilliant. I know, exactly. For a box that does one thing, like I've got down here, it's in very bad shape, but and I need to get it repaired at one stage, but I'm still hanging on to it because it was my favorite pedal growing up. But yeah, the Dunlop Jimi Hendrix wah wah is very, very cool. But yeah, again, it's designed in like the 80s basically and hasn't changed since. So there's not a whole lot going on there in terms of processing. In fact, all of that board would be massive now. I bet your pedals have a little chip in there as their board. But yeah, I've lost the feet and it's not in the best shape. But yeah, I got your standard stuff. I got your PSK chorus here. I got the Boss DS1 in there. Not a huge, massive collection by any stretch, but yeah, fun to play around with. Coincidentally, I spent the past several days and nights dialing in bass tones in GarageBand. There you go. Do your thing. No, that is 100%. This show used to be just Q&A. I added a topic because we never had enough questions to fill an hour. If I had an hour of questions every week, and I think the benefit of doing Q&A and having people come in with these sort of problems is that we use the brain's trust of the community here. And you might not get exactly the right answer straight away, but you'll get some resources and you'll get some places to go and some people to check out to try and sort of resolve and move forward with what you're doing. And it helps other people. So the reason I watch Q&A streams and listen to Q&A stuff all the time, because it's stuff that sometimes I hadn't even heard of, or I hit that problem in the future. So someone today might be playing around with Logic Pro and they might have that bug that I just showed where it only plays one track. And now they know that to just close out and open up. Don't waste any time. Don't spend any time with it. Just close it and reopen it. So no, never need to feel sorry for asking questions. A few more questions here. A little more coffee. And good to see new folks in the community, to be honest, because that's what we're here for. We're here. My goal is and always has been to help folks create, record, and release their best music. The reason I wanted to talk about Bandcamp today was just to tell you you should release your music on Bandcamp. So we will get to that. We'll go a little overtime here today. So I'll alert the affiliates that we'll be going overtime. Question from Ruben. I'm investing in a MIDI keyboard. What's the best option and compatible with GarageBand? MIDI keyboards, well, this is a perfect opportunity to spruik my gear guide. For anyone looking to pick up any gear, I highly recommend you head on over to studiolivetoday.com/gear. Here's my gear guide. You can click through to just Amazon, Sweetwater, eBay, or Thomann and scroll through and check it out. Or if you want to know what I use, here's my complete setup at the moment, the 2 Mac computers that I use, my iPad Pro, all of the different audio interfaces, headphones, and when it comes to MIDI keyboards, I recommend this sucker here, which is the M Audio Key Station. I know some people love the Key Station, some people aren't that impressed with it. I love it because I'm a simple dude and I got simple needs. I need a keyboard that doesn't have to have weighted keys, doesn't have to have all the bells and whistles. In fact, because I use GarageBand and Logic Pro for iPad, it doesn't support a lot of those things. I don't need drum pads and I don't need a whole bunch of faders and dials because GarageBand and Logic don't play nice with that stuff anyway. But the Key Station is the perfect blend of quality and price, $119 US. You get your pitch bend, your modulation, your volume. You can change your octaves there. You've got your keys there, 49 keys. Not weighted, but they are touch sensitive. You've got the ability to plug in a pedal. So you can use a sustain pedal, and it powers over USB. So power switch, pedal, USB plug, and that's it. It really is basic, but it does the job and it does it well. And it comes in a bunch of different flavors. So if you're not looking for something that big, you can go, say, the Key Station 32, which is a smaller version of that. This one here, little tacker, $59. And you can, if you just say playing in melodies or using it for pads or just some basic chords, this does pretty much all the same stuff, but it's much smaller. And you can go all the way up. You can do a 61, or you can even get a complete piano, 88 key piano keyboard sized for $249, which has the same options. It has 88 keys if you're going to be playing big classical pieces that go all up and down the keyboard. So, look, I say that, and then other people will say, "Yeah, no, I use Akai. Yeah, I use whatever." There's a heap of different ones out there, and to be honest, anything you get that is brand name, you're okay with. So, I don't think you can go that far wrong. The ones I would avoid are if you go, say, to Amazon.com. Let's do this together here. If you go to Amazon and you type in, say, MIDI keyboard, it's a bit like when you do microphone or when you do headphones. Amazon will recommend you. Well, actually, these ones are okay now. Look at this. Look at this. It's sponsored ones: Akai, M Audio, and Novation. That's probably the 3 that I would say to choose from. Donna is like just on the edge. They're okay if budget is absolutely of a concern. I've used some Donna gear before. It's all right, but it's not perfect. And then when you get to things like MIDI Plus, yeah, you can see it's basically it's a rip-off of that Key Station. But in my experience, you get what you pay for. And if you spend a little bit more and go for a brand name, you're going to get a little bit better quality and you'll be good. Myo USB on Odyssey, it's like $30. Yeah, and that's the thing. They'll work. They'll absolutely work, but it's around the quality and how often you use it and what quality you'll need. It really depends, but that's just my opinion. Thomas got the Key Station 88 Mark III when my Yamaha digital piano died. Not exactly piano touch, but solid and affordable. And that's exactly right. If you want a piano touch, No, this isn't it. You need to upgrade to the next level, to the Code series or something that's actually got weighted keys. The M Audio key stations don't have weighted keys, so they're more for a synth player or a keys player, not so much for if you're a pianist. If you're and that's why out there I've got a Casio Cleviano. See, I can't even remember what it is, but here's the good thing. Quite often, I'll be like, "What do I use again?" And I'll come out here, and I'll be like, "Hang on, where is it? Where's my piano?" Actually, it's not in my studio setup. It's in my everything. What have I got it under? Maybe I have to go down. I definitely have it here, or at least I thought I did. I don't know what I called it because there's different names for it. Piano Digital, there it is. So I have the Casio Chelviano AP250, but that's overkill. For a studio, I probably wouldn't recommend going with something like that. They don't even sell it anymore, but it's similar to this one. It's similar to the Privia, but mine's just a slightly different cabinet size. It comes out a little bit more. It's like a cross between the Privia and the full. Actually, it's like this one. It's a cut down version of this one. It looks exactly like that, but this is the 750, and I've got the 250. But yeah, Casio are actually really, really good in terms of digital pianos these days. They used to kind of be the also ran of digital pianos because it was all about Korg and all about Yamaha. But Casio, like they went from brut to brut, in my opinion. So if you're looking for a digital piano, you can go for that. I had a MIDI Plus but couldn't get it to play, and that's the problem. Some of those non-brand name ones aren't class compliant. They don't connect up properly. They don't power up as easily as you would hope. Hello, Queen Savage Alpha Mama. Hello to you. Hope you're doing well. Love Yamaha keyboards. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I went Casio over Yamaha because it was about half the price, and it seems pretty good. Hello, Ed B Metal. I hope you are doing well, my friend. How do we go on questions? I think we have one more. Yeah. So in fact, 1%. I've not ever released that anywhere apart from on the Charity for Life album last year. So that is something that I should release on both Bandcamp. And had we more time here today, had I not gone and talked too much, might have done that today. But I will release that both on Bandcamp and on DistroKid at some stage. And I was going to do some releasing on Bandcamp and do some other things today, but we will finish. I just need to fix something up here at the back end to make sure I send you over to Mr. Frank Terzo because he's got the Community Pulse show coming up here today, which is going to be a good old time. And I'm just making sure that I've got you set to be sent to Frank, which I didn't do before the show. So bear with me a moment and I will click on that one and save that in just so that you'll be sent over there. But if you're not aware, Frank Terzo does a wonderful show called The Community Pulse, and it is all about this community. And we've got an episode coming up live in 71 minutes. I'm going to throw a link here in the chat for you to have a look at. We'll just throw that one in there. You can jump in and check out Frank and the crew, and he does a really, really good job hosting that. And he's got his 52nd edition today, so he's doing it. He's been doing it for a year. How cool is that? So there you go. You can jump on over there. Thank you, Mark. Yes, we will be finishing up shortly. But before we go, a couple of things about Bandcamp. Yeah, we're an hour and 3 into the show and he's starting the feature topic. A couple of things about Bandcamp. Number one, that's a trick for new players is that if you've already got a Bandcamp account that you use for listening to music, you'll need to create a creator account. So this is my creator account. It's petejohns.bandcamp.com. You can go there and check it out right now. There's not much on there. I haven't actually uploaded a custom header yet. I was going to do some of that today and didn't quite get there. Oh, I got to accept the terms of use. I'll do that later. But we will be doing some more Bandcamp stuff later in the week. So at the moment, I only have my one thing there, which is my first album. And if you wanted to see the process of that, instead of you getting to actually see much today, I'm going to point you to another video. It was when I had Thomas Christ on the show and we looked at Bandcamp, and it was a year ago, and it was Bandcamp for beginners. So if you're an absolute beginner and you know nothing of this whole world of Bandcamp, you can check that one out, and I've dropped a link to that there in the chat. So go and check. Oh, I've put the very, very long link, but it'll take you there. It'll take you to the Bandcamp for beginners. And
Pennsylvania.
there he is.
Been recording music in some way or another for about 20 years.
So there's links in the description.
In the background here and find a photo.
So if you want to, you can actually go there and go to the different sections. Oh, actually, no, I didn't put those in. They were put in by YouTube. But it's pretty good. Adding an artist, adding a song, naming the price, creating album artwork, all that sort of stuff. So we went into quite a bit of detail about Bandcamp, and you can go and check out that one. The other thing I will highly recommend you do is check out Thomas Christ on Bandcamp. So if you go to, now, this is why Bandcamp's good. I reckon I could go bandcamp.com/Thomas Christ, or no, is it thomaschrist.bandcamp.com? I think it's usually that way around. Or, there it is. Or the other thing you can do is just search it, because it's got pretty good search engine optimization. So if you want to see how a good Bandcamp page can be set up, this is Thomas Christ out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Now, why? Oh, that's right. I'm not following him there because I'm here in my creator account, not in my fan account. But you can come in here and you can check out everything that Thomas has released, which is a lot. Are all 19 albums on your Bandcamp there now, Thomas? I think the majority of them are, because I've bought the whole Thomas Christ collection, because that's how I roll. I like supporting people who support me. But I'm going to log out and log back in here to my user account, if I can remember my password. Hopefully it's that. Nope. We'll give it a go. We're not going to be able to do that. Trust me on this one, you want to go and check out Thomas Christ. See, I was very, very well prepared for all of this, wasn't I? 18 of the 19 are up there. Ah, very interesting. Wonder what the missing one is, and I wonder why. If it's anything like me, I've got some songs missing from my DistroKid, and that's my old Scarpa album, because there's some things on there that are not exactly 2025 compliant, let's say. Probably not the case for Mr. Thomas Christ. So, yeah, if you came here for all the Bandcamp, you didn't get a whole lot of it, except for the fact that you can go over and check out Bandcamp. I do recommend releasing on. I actually have bought a lot of songs and albums that folks have released on Bandcamp, because it is the most direct way to, short of like finding someone in the street and handing them a $10 note, it's probably the best way to get support out there for people who are releasing music, and it's dead simple to set up. Once again, I'm gonna go rewatch that. That'll be my job for now. I'll go rewatch myself and Thomas going through Bandcamp to refresh myself on how it all works, because I've kind of forgotten. But that is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for all of the questions, for all of the interaction. I love the fact that we have a community here that can get together and can help each other out, and push people in the right direction with things. So thank you so much for that. On your way out, if you would do me a solid and hit the thumbs up button, as I can see a couple of you are doing right now. Yeah, it tells me. I know. It doesn't tell me who, but it tells me that you're hitting the thumbs up button. So thank you for that. If you'd like to support me and the show in a more monetary way, you're always welcome to. Never required, but you're always welcome. You can donate either via PayPal, via Super Chats or Super stickers and things here on the show, or you can become a member of the membership, the community here on YouTube, or even over on Patreon. Thank you again. More thumbs up coming in. I appreciate you big time. If you're watching on the replay and you've got questions, I am always down in the comment section below. So, and maybe you've got answers. If not any questions, but if you've got answers for some of the questions that popped up on the show today, why not put those down in the comments section below? Help folks out. That is going to do it for this one. As we say at the end of each and every show, please be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, keep creating. I'll see you over on Frank Terzo's 52nd 1-year anniversary community poll show coming up in just 1 hour's time. And until next time, I'll see you then. Bye for now.